It's his little message.
There it is. We're listed as a zoning board of appeals meeting.
Oh, that's gonna be changed. Trust me. No, we know it's there. I know it's there. Get it deleted, but in the morning,
That's okay, it's kind of, here, we'll give something to Kurt then. This is kind of like Halloween,
Yes.
we're disguised as the zoning board of appeals. Well, welcome everybody to the Board of Selectmen regular meeting agenda on November 1st, 2021. It's a little after 7, so we always start with our call to order. Candace, please.
Candice Bouchard.
Todd Oshalashi.
Melissa Bird.
Josh Kelly.
Candy Perez,
Sheila Sedlak,
Jack Bork. Stephen Sedlak.
Linda Grappo.
please join us for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3 is the agenda review. Anyone? If not, we'll move into the minutes of our regular meeting from October 18th. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Linda. Any additions, corrections for Sheila on this? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay, unanimous, thank you. Next is the minutes of the special town meeting on October 18th, 2021. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Jack. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Todd. That was the one for the land, the lien, not the liens, but the little bond on it. Any questions, updates on that? Okay, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Item 5, citizens' comments. Anyone would like to speak? You have 3 minutes. Okay, thanks. Next up is town manager's report.
Okay, good evening, everyone. You have in front of you, board members, or for anybody following online or with a printed packet, my written report. I'll just mention a few highlights and I'll take questions at the end as usual. The first thing I want to note is that tomorrow is Election Day. Polls are open from 6 o'clock a.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. at Pearson School on Wetmore Ave. If you are somebody who is registered to vote, you are able to, in Winchester, you are able to vote in this election, and I encourage you to get out and have your voice heard. Beyond that, regarding 508 Main Street, I know I spoke with each of the board members individually about this, but I can tell you at this point in time that the request for qualifications for 508 Main Street has been posted on the town's website and is being advertised more broadly as well. And we're accepting proposals through December 22nd, which is 60 days from the first date of the advertisement. So we'll know before the new year whether we have viable redevelopment proposals to consider. Regarding the American Rescue Plan Act, a proposal for how to allocate the first tranche of those funds has been developed, will be delivered to you before the next Board of Selectmen meeting. It's my intention that at the next board meeting you'll have that on your agenda for consideration. The Communities Challenge Grant was announced a couple weeks ago, I think actually 2 weeks ago today. And it's my hope that the town may be able to apply for this batch of state funding. They're allocating between $1 to $10 million to different towns that apply for projects that improve livability, vibrancy, convenience, and appeal of communities throughout the state. And I very much hope that Winchester will be one of those with money awarded. Beyond that, I am excited to say that we have hired Lauren Dombrowski as the full-time assistant town clerk. And of course, we'll be finding out tomorrow evening who the next town clerk will be in that office. And I'm very happy to know that we're going to have somebody there who will provide some stability and consistency throughout the transition process to assist in all of that. And I know that Sheila feels the same way. Poles on Main Street are being painted by Eversource right now at no cost to the town. So thanks to Candace for helping to coordinate all of that. The noise ordinance that was voted on at the last meeting is in effect, and we have all of the decimeters. All of the police officers in the department have been trained to use those and have gone through a training to understand how to accurately and completely measure sound in accordance with the ordinance. And lastly, I will mention that the ordinance codification process that the town has been going through for quite a while now has reached its next phase. We've sent a list of our responses to the recommendations and questions that were sent to us by General Code back to General Code, and they will be compiling a draft set of ordinances online for us for your review sometime in the spring. Are there any questions that board members have at this time?
Josh, the date of the Community Challenge Grant, when's that due? Is it January, February?
We have to submit a letter of intent in early December, and the final grant application is due January 14th. So we have some time, but not a ton. Linda, I saw you had a question too.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, there are just so many grants that we're applying for. Did we ask if there could be some type of chart so that we know what the status is of these grants and if they're time sensitive, the amounts?
Absolutely.
I think that would be helpful for me because I'm having difficulty keeping track of all the different grants that we've applied for. It's exciting, but I want to just know if there should be a way to be able to keep track of them.
Absolutely. And I have a chart that would be easily,
Okay.
that I could easily release and share with the board.
I think it'd be helpful.
So absolutely, no
Thanks.
problem. Any other questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Okay, seeing none, was there any correspondence anyone wanted to highlight? Okay, Steve, boards and commissions.
Okay, thank you, Candy. We have a number of nominations and appointments tonight. First of all, if you want to look at your worksheet in the package, we have two people that we're considering for the first time for membership on board and commission. William Hudak, being considered for the Torrington Area Health District Board. That's a permanent position, term to expire in 4/24. And Brian Sunday, a candidate for the Recreation Board, permanent membership, term to expire April of 2027. And so we'll go forward with our vetting process for those two people. Under appointments, the last meeting we had a question about Troy Lemire's candidacy. Quite frankly, I was one who misunderstood. I thought it was ZBA he was looking to be on. However, it's Board of Assessment Appeals. I asked the chairman of Planning and Zoning to have a conversation with Troy about being on two boards like that, and I think we cleared up what the confusion might have been on our part. The feeling now is there's not a conflict of interest, and so I think we can go straight to appointment. So I would move to appoint Troy Lemire as a member of the Board of Assessment Appeals as an alternate, term to expire in March of '21.
Second.
We're already in
Uh,
March of 21.
Yep.
Passed it already. So
Don't
it
make
must be wrong
things
date.
difficult.
It's 24.
It's a typo, and so it's 24,
24?
yes.
All right, we had a second over here by Candace. Does anybody have any questions? If not, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Okay, and again, we've had under consideration the name of Tim McGrain as a member of the Recreation Board, term to expire in April of 2027. And so I will nominate Tim McGrain to that position on the Recreation Board. And we'll
Second.
take action at our next meeting.
Okay.
Oh, so we're not voting on this one, okay.
No.
Nomination.
No, this is his
First.
name's placed in nomination. This is step number 2. And also ready for step number 3, I would make a motion to appoint Leanne Marvin as a member of the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission, term to expire in April of 2024.
Second.
Is that- Linda, thank you. Any other conversation on this one? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
And I would also move to appoint Sandra Griswold as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, an alternate position, term to expire of 12/2026.
Is there a second for this one? Second. Thank you, Melissa. Any other conversation? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
And under the box of reappointments, the name of Willard Platt. So I will move to reappoint Willard Platt to the Planning and Zoning Commission as a alternate member, a term to expire in October of 2026.
I don't think he's an alternate member. I think he's a member, isn't he? Willard?
Says member here.
Yep.
I don't think he's alternate, he's a member.
Wait just a second.
And in this file, we do say member.
All right. I haven't been to a planning and zoning in a while.
He's a member.
Member. Okay.
I'll second it,
Okay then.
as a member.
Any other discussion for Willie? All in favor? Thank you.
And with the next two names, you,
Sorry, Steve.
nope.
If you don't mind, I just want to make a couple comments about these next two.
Yes, please.
First and foremost, I want to apologize to the board about the confusion at the last meeting. There was confusion around Jim Weldon and Kevin O'Connell and their roles on economic development. It was my understanding that when, for the Board of Selectmen meeting that I was not present for, their names would have come up and you would have recognized their appointment. What did occur is that Jim Weldon approached the town, and this is at the end of September, which is why I thought it would have been on the agenda for early October, and it did not make it on. So that's why we're here today, or that's why their names appear today. And these, Jim Welton specifically told me that he would like to stay an active member of the Economic Development Commission, but needs to take a step back, perhaps in an alternate role. And that gave us an opportunity to move Kevin O'Connell up to a permanent member. So those two are switching. And in order to logistically move through that process, Jim Welton effectively resigned from his permanent position. I appointed Kevin to the vacant position, which is within my powers under the charter to do. And then I was able to assign Jim Welton to the unexpired term that Kevin O'Connell had been holding as an alternate. So the switch was conducted, I believe, on September 26th, and that's backed up in your packet with letters from myself. And today, it does say appointing authority is Board of Selectmen. However, in this case, because they are unexpired terms that are being appointed to, it is a town manager appointment.
Yeah.
So the description is the opposite of what we see here. So O'Connell is a permanent and Jim Weldon is alternate now.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
So they're switched.
Yes. So they have switched, they have taken the opposite person's term. So now Kevin O'Connell will be a permanent member expiring 4/23, and Jim Welton will be an alternate member expiring 4/26. And I ask that you recognize these appointments at tonight's meeting.
Yeah, and that's been our practice to acknowledge the appointments of the town manager. And I think we do that formally with a vote. So I would move that we acknowledge the appointment of Kevin O'Connell to the Economic Development Commission, alternate membership, permanent. Permanent membership, term to expire in April of 2023.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
And I would also move that we recognize, that we acknowledge the appointment of Jim Welton to the Economic Development Commission as a
Alternate.
alternate member, term to expire in April of 2026.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Unanimous.
And the
Wanna
la-
Note that Brian Sunday's name spelled wrong. Brian is B-R-Y-A-N, just for the next.
Okay, thank you. And there's one more to consider here, a reappointment of Anthony Page to the Housing Authority. I guess he is currently the chairman. His term will expire in April of 2026, and I move his reappointment.
Second?
Thank you. And I'm assuming that the Housing Authority Committee decides who's the chair, so, not us, so. Okay, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Anything else with that? Brings us to unfinished business, which I don't have any listed here, so. Brings us to 10A, which is proposed line item transfer. Josh?
Thank you very much. We have two different transfers that are proposed tonight, but under number 21-74, we have an interdepartmental transfer within the Recreation Department. It's an amount of $6,000 from general labor to, and $6,000 to maintenance of grounds. And in accordance with section 914, the finance director here with us today, in case you want to make any commentary on this, Bruce. Bruce has requested a transfer of funds to cover charges for safety equipment at ball fields and bleacher defender to keep fans safe from foul balls from field to field. So my understanding is that because we had a certain number of rain days this summer, we were able to save an amount of money within the general labor line in the recreation department. And with that, we are hoping to purchase safety equipment at the ball fields to make best use of the money that's allocated to that department.
May I have a motion to approve the transfer?
So moved.
Thank you, Todd. Is there a second? Thank you, Steve. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. The next item I asked to be put on the agenda, it's the Regional Refuge District and the issues with the Mira plant in Hartford, which is the trash-to-energy plant. Debbie Angel has been extremely good at keeping us informed about what is happening. And as we are one of the 3 members of that refuge district. And she has been quite concerned about what's happening with Mira that is supposed to go out of service next year, the tipping fees and the transferring trash out of state and solutions for it. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew about it, and not just the people on this board, but that the public was aware of some of the issues that are going on out there with the idea of, what do we do with our trash? I mean, we certainly all have a lot of it. And so I'm gonna ask Josh just to do just a quick update. This will be something that occurs over time. It's not like something that's gonna be solved tonight. It will have budget implications in terms of our local budget in the spring and the following couple of years as well until the issue somehow gets solved. So, Josh?
Right, and just for everybody here in the audience, watching at home, even watching later on and recording, I do want to emphasize that just in fiscal year 15 into 16, so fiscal year 16, we were in Winchester, in RDD1, at $63 per ton for tipping fees, and today we're at $105 per ton. So it's a $42 per ton increase in 6 years, and we're looking at perhaps similar or even steeper increases going forward. So Debbie Angel reached out to us, and these are conversations that have been ongoing within Mira to figure out, as that plant closes, what is going to happen with all of the waste that is currently being processed through that plant. And the answer is complicated, and they're evaluating a number of different proposals that have come in through a lengthy request for proposals process. But the real question that's facing municipalities engaged with Mira at this point in time is all about opting out opportunities. So we have an opportunity right now as we look to, or as Mira looks to accept different proposals, to amend different contracts to perhaps get lower rates for these various hauling costs if we are willing to make a longer commitment and to do away with the opportunity to bow out of those commitments. And we are facing higher costs in the event that we want to keep the luxury of having the option to leave Mira and to contract with our own services elsewhere. So it's certainly a difficult predicament to be in. I don't have a perfect answer. I don't think anybody does. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here right now talking about it. But I do want you to know that there are difficult decisions coming up and that these costs will continue to rise in the future. There's really no way around that. And if anybody has questions as we go throughout the process, just like Candy said, we'll be bringing information forward to you as it is available. Certainly, I know that our state legislatures, one of whom is here in the room with us, will continue to keep us apprised, and will try and guide us as best we can forward.
And Linda goes to all the board meetings too.
Yeah, and we do have to remember too that it's 3 towns that are involved in this.
Yes.
as well, not just Winchester.
So in the packets, we forwarded you the PowerPoint and other information too. So again, one of the things, going forward in terms of all of the, the garbage we make and stuff too, I think as a community and people, when we have somebody pick up our garbage at our houses or we go to the RRD1 and have to pay the sticker fees, we should start to make sure we, like the manufacturers and the packaging, I know they're starting to pay attention to how much packaging they send to us. We also should be paying attention at the restaurants we eat at and hopefully encouraging them to use more biodegradable type, containers that go out. And just all of us, try to use a more renewable or things like, a glass container instead of plastic bags, et cetera, to, take care of our leftovers and stuff. I know some people that take their own containers to a restaurant to bring them home because we have to solve the trash issue, and there's only, either reduce the amount of trash so our fees aren't so high, or just keep paying higher and higher fees, and then where do you put it? Where does it go? And I think that, again, I think the RDD1 board and the people that are there, and Debbie in terms of leading this, they really have really been attentive to details and really, have the legal minds involved on it and working at not just the local level, but the state level. So, I feel comfortable with the leadership on it, but I think the public needs to know the cost that's coming at us in the future. All right, so.
If I can just add to that, currently, if somebody in Connecticut were to take their trash to Murphy Road Recycling in Hartford, they currently charge $150 a ton. So it's all pretty much around that area. You're not gonna find trash disposal for much cheaper than that.
Todd, what it compares with Torrington?
Well, Torrington is different because Torrington doesn't charge you necessarily by the pound, by the weight, where Murphy Road
But do you know what the
does.
municipality is paying per ton to the haulers or wherever they're taking it?
That's in here. It's 106, I think, right now.
Right.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it in there.
Yeah, it's first or second page. I think it's $106 a ton now, and going up to
105.
What page are you on?
Number 2, additional information on the second page, second paragraph. Our tipping fees per ton, 15-16 were 63. Today, they're 105.
Ah, okay. Thank you.
However, Mira doesn't take trash from citizens, they take trash from haulers. Whereas Hartford, you would bring it as a citizen.
Okay then. More to be said on that as time goes on.
We need to get our town businesses to follow our ordinance on styrofoam.
Yeah, we're gonna have to start working on that. So next up is another proposed line item transfer. Josh?
Yes.
That's Candace.
And this is a request for $200 within the Public Celebrations Department to be transferred from general labor to replacement displays. And this is to acquire replacement hardware for the black lamp poles. As you all heard earlier in my update to you, that the poles out on Main Street have been repainted at no cost to the town, black, and a very nice fresh black. And in order to make sure that everything looks cohesive, it's our hope to be able to purchase black hardware to go on each of those so that there's nothing standing out, nothing shining in anybody's eyes, and so forth. And it will make for a more cohesive and welcoming Main Street. And so we need another $200 in the replacement displays account within the Public Celebrations Department in order to make that happen.
So moved.
Can you say how much it is?
200.
200, and it's going from
One
general
department
labor to
within-
replacement
Yeah.
displays.
Yeah.
Is there a second, please?
A second.
Thank you. Any other questions on that? That'll also tie into item F in a little bit. Hey, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Next up is the Cares Act expenditure. As you know, over time, the Cares Act sent money to us for eligible categories for cleaning during the pandemic, modifications, overtime, et cetera. So our finance director and town manager have given us a document, and they'll go through this for us now. I don't know which one of you.
Oh, sorry, Bruce will, so long as that microphone's working, I can get that bag out of
Yeah,
here.
it's right on the bottom. Got it, Josh.
John.
Yes, good evening. As has been fairly prominent in the news, in one particular municipality in the southern part of the state, there's some questions about how municipalities are accounting for the Cares Act spending. So the town treasurer, Cynthia Rhines, and I did some work on that last week. It coincides with a reporting requirement that every town had with the Department of Policy and Management the end of the third week in October. So we're giving you a report that Winchester has spent $136,996 in CARES Act funds from March 2020 to September 2021 to mitigate public safety risks to the town related to the COVID-19 pandemic. These funds were provided to the town from the Municipal Coronavirus Relief Fund program from the Connecticut Office of Policy and Management and from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. All expenditures occurred in the eligible categories of cleaning and disinfection of public buildings, cleaning supplies, distancing equipment and technology, office modifications, overtime related to response, personal protection equipment, public safety personnel costs, and testing. These expenditures exclude separate CARES Act funding to Winchester Public Schools through the State Board of Education, which has its own eligibility and reporting requirements. CARES Act expenditures for the period March 2020 to June 2020 will be subject to the fiscal 21 state single audit procedures, which will be reported this December. The remaining expenditures, July 2020 to December 2021, will be subject to the fiscal 22 state single audit procedures, which will be reported in December 2022. So that summarizes the spending by the town of CARES Act funds and how they're going to be audited and accounted for. So we've already provided individual accountability to the Office of Policy and Management for that $136,996 that I mentioned previously. But I hope this gives you some idea of what the town has done with the money that the CARES Act.
Could you review the back of this, please?
You want me
Just-
to go
Just
through?
to make sure that there's more public information on this, because people seem to be interested in it.
Right, so the town received money in 3 tranches. The first tranche covered the early period, March to June 2020, via FEMA, and we reported $11,007.86 in eligible expenses. And that covered the categories of police officer overtime related to COVID exposure, personal protection equipment, distancing equipment, and cleaning at-risk vehicles and indoor spaces. We submitted that those expenditures to FEMA on September 30th, 2020. We received reimbursement on January 7th, 2021. Then for the same period, we provided, we had the opportunity to submit for reimbursement to the Connecticut Office of Policy and Management Coronavirus Relief Fund another $25,886.10. And those were essentially in the same categories: police officer overtime, personal protection equipment, distancing equipment, and cleaning at-risk vehicles and indoor spaces. We submitted those expenditures to OPM on October 28th, 2020, with supporting documentation, and we received reimbursement on November 24th, 2020. Then, for the expenditures that cover July 2020 through September 2021, that would be made available to us through the OPM Municipal Coronavirus Relief Fund, the department made grants to every municipality at the end of December as based on town population, and our share was $101,602. Larger towns received more money, smaller towns received less money. There was some federal legislation, House Resolution 133, extended the end date for the eligible expenditures from December 2020 to December 2021, which made sense because the pandemic was going to last much longer than the original, 9 months that was part of the Cares Act. So we incurred expenditures during that time, and on October 21st, we reported to OPM the following: $2,025 in cleaning and disinfection of public buildings, $1,344.20 in cleaning supplies, $11,197.15 in equipment, $1,745.95 in office modifications, $39,076 in overtime related to response. All of that was police related. $12,335.96 in personal protection equipment like masks and gloves. Another $31,778 in public safety personnel costs. Those are costs related to full-time persons already employed by the town, but represented the percentage of their time that they spent managing COVID risk matters. And then another $600 in testing. So that leaves just under $1,500 left in that $101,000 grant that we received. And so that is available to cover equipment costs through December 31st, 2021. And that will be sufficient to cover those costs. We have already committed to spend that are related to equipment costs. So, as I indicated, all these are subject to various audits by our public audit firm and under the state single audit that we are subject to, and so they'll be included in their audit reports.
It's very detailed, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have could you just clarify some definitions? What is distancing equipment and technology, and what is $11,000 spent on equipment, IT, and teleworking? What is that?
So some of the enhancements we did to this room that allowed for us to report and to the public, the meetings that were being held, the Zoom meetings that we made available for every board and commission.
Okay.
We provided, I think we purchased 10 laptops, or not laptops, tablets, that the board and commission members could use to, interact during the COVID when we didn't have any meetings in town hall. And then that required not only that, but we also have to pay for phone lines for each one of those tablets, as well as our Zoom subscription. So it's those kinds of things. We also enhanced the technology here in this room to allow for those broadcasts.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Bruce?
Chris, under the July 28th to September 21, the two big line items, number 5, 39,000 for overtime and 31,000 for public safety personnel. You know, we're talking pretty close to $70,000 there. If this money is being used to pay overtime and personnel, are we then seeing a reduction in the operating budget that has already been assigned or set aside and is earmarked to pay for overtime?
So we did credit the general fund for the fiscal year '21 for most of these costs, because they mostly, I think all of the police overtime costs incurred in fiscal '21. With the availability of vaccines and additional testing, we haven't seen any police overtime related to exposure. Most of the police overtime had to do with an officer was exposed to a citizen who had tested positive. They had to go into quarantine. That took them out of the scheduling paradigm for for police coverage. Others had to step up, incurred overtime. This was all part of one of the eligible cost categories under the COVID Cares Act funds. So we did credit the general fund for these costs, which are now being transferred to grant, covered by grant revenues. And the same thing with the public safety personnel costs. We did give credit to the general fund, because these costs are now being applied against these CARES Act funds.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Do we have any other questions?
You're welcome.
Our usual meeting refunds as recommended by the Collector of Revenues. Josh?
Yes, we have several motor vehicle certificates of correction before you, totaling $1,128.87 that the tax collector has asked that you authorize a refund for.
Can I have a motion to authorize this, please? Thank you, Linda. Is there a second? Thank you, Melissa. Any questions? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Okay, the next one, I know we just got finished with Halloween, and we don't mean to rush the seasons, but we have to be prepared before the season gets here. So Candace, who also works with the Friends of Main Street, as you know, has been doing a lot of work on winter decorations on Main Street, and she has a proposal that she would like to run by us for some expenditures out of our contingency fund, so that we can have a festive Main Street for the winter season.
As you know, Eversource is not going to repair any of the plugs on Main Street, so we can't put traditional lighting on our poles. But we can buy battery-operated lighting. So what I'm proposing is a red bow on each pole, and then also a garland with lighting that's battery-operated that will last 81 days. And it's LED, so we do not have to fudge any of the lights at all, and every year we just replace the batteries. So we have funds in the balance of our holiday decorations for installation. However, we never set aside any money to replace any holiday decorations. This is actually going to decorate half the poles. Like when we introduced the snowflakes, we did those first every other pole, and then in the following year we added the remaining. So it might look fine just the way it is with half of the lighting, so why not do the 22 poles? What is different with this also is we are going to be, thanks to the repainting of the poles, we are going to be extending the decorations on Main Street all the way to the YMCA. So traditionally they've ended at Union Street. The poles are different. The poles at Union Street didn't have any plugs for lighting. So now we're going to be able to have flower baskets. We're going to have hooks for that. And we're going to also be able to hang holiday decorations all the way to the YMCA.
So the amount you're asking for is under the green category on this chart, correct?
Right. I think, a maximum of $5,000. I've estimated $4,420. We have to still buy batteries for them. But, that will get you a red and gold bow of 18 inches and a garland on it. So I think it would look really pretty with the newly painted bows.
So the motion would be for us to approve up to $5,000 out of the Board of Selectmen's contingency. Well, I might as well just do it. I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve up to $5,000 from our contingency fund for winter Main Street decorations. So I need a second.
Carol, second.
So anybody have any more questions for Candace
I
on
have
this?
a question, just have a question. About the batteries,
Yes.
okay, we're talking about our carbon footprint with Mira and all. Will we be able to get new batteries next year to?
Right, they will have to be
Okay.
replaced every year.
Every year, okay,
Exactly.
okay.
But they're LED and the LED lights don't
81
draw
days.
that
Right,
much.
the
81 days.
the lights on the snowflakes were not LED, and as such, the wind damage would knock those lights out all the time. I mean, we could still change all of the lighting on the snowflakes, but we can't plug them into the poles. So it would be nice if we could at some point, either convince some of the store owners to buy them, or to actually affix them in the outside of the buildings on Main Street, going down to complement the poles. So they're very usable,
Okay.
but I would recommend eliminating all the bulbs that we have on them and replacing them with LED, like we're doing the LED lights on Main Street. Thanks to Eversource replacing those lights for free as well.
Candace, what's the installation cost in this? And who's doing that? Is it private or town?
Private. We have a landscape organization that is, thanks to our purchasing department, has given us a really wonderful rate. It's extremely low. So this will be obviously, they're going to be reinstalling all of the hardware and all of the banners. We have someone in our office who's going to be repainting all of the hooks for the flowers. And those don't have to go up right away, but yes, it's
So
very minimal.
Is that cost being covered by Friends of Main Street?
No, that cost is in our budget every year.
The
The
installation?
The town
The
budget.
installation, the town budget, it puts it up and takes it down. Friends of Main Street raises funds for the flowers. We do need to redesign banners, going after, our celebration of Winchester 250 next year. But this was an unexpected opportunity to take down all of the banners and get all of the new hardware and have a nice cohesive look.
And the takedown of all these, you're going to store them like you have with the other wreaths? Or we're not leaving anything up after?
No, it's going to be an 81-day, so it's not Candace can leave snowflakes on anything for however long she wants to. So they can run from mid-November to mid-February. So, and I think it'll be easier to store if the snowflakes are 3, 4, and 5 feet in diameter. These are wreaths. I mean, these are garlands. So hopefully we'll retain all of that packaging and be able to put them back in those same boxes. We'll have to coordinate with the rec department for storage, but, and also the rec department is looking to expand the lighting in the green as well.
You mentioned the reusing of the wreaths that we have.
Yep.
How would somebody, a store owner, for instance, right now, hearing some of this, how would they find, yeah, I'd like to reuse that at my store? What would they do to get a hold of that?
They could reach me through Friends of Main Street, but, right now Gilson has, remember the beautiful picture of Gilson last year where they had the snowflakes in the windows of Padres? They still have those there. New James used to have a snowflake, but they are stored in the rec department, and we have a few in Friends of Main Street that shouldn't be there, but, yeah. But I would also recommend that, if they want to use them, they can, or they could, possibly purchase them. We've also saved the hardware from the poles. Maybe we can sell those back to the manufacturer where we purchased them originally. I don't know if they could be used on buildings, probably, actually,
I
but,
applaud your effort in getting all this done. Thank you.
well,
Any other questions? Okay, if not, all in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. Which brings us to the second round of citizens' comments. Jay?
Madam Mayor, thank you all for your service, and hopefully everybody gets out and vote. We'll be able to work with a bunch of people again that are here now. I really wanted to talk about the Mira thing, as it comes
Okay.
up, and I'd really like to get some input from the board, because this is a huge issue. I've been going to the meetings in Hartford on it last year. You know, we can spend $300 million to fix the Mira plant. The problem is, the city of Hartford wants the land. So, what weighs here? Are we gonna ship it to Alabama or to Michigan, which are the two towns that, or two states that bid on taking the garbage at $145 a ton? That starts June 2022. We're paying $119 right now. What do we wanna do? I guess what I'm looking for is some input. I've talked to Debbie Angel. We've all been working together. They've invited, I've been with Senator Mira, who's a ranking member on the environment. Our biggest issue is too, is teaching people recycling. It was touched on a little bit. I mean, you can have single-use glass. Clear glass is what can be recycled. If you have a colored wine bottle, that's not accepted and people don't buy that. That's where the heavy weights come in. So if you have single-stream recycling with just clear glass, and a coffee cup gets in that bucket, it's contaminated. So it's no good anymore, and that goes to Refuge. So we really need to work on educating and do it a little bit better on recycling, and we'll save on tipping fees and weights. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that.
You can sit down if you want. Have a seat.
No, so, I mean, I really want your input on it. I mean, whether we spend $300 million to fix that plant, we're gonna pay for it one way or another, because I'm sure the city of Hartford is gonna want dollars to clean up that land before they can use it. I know Luke Berner has been to all of those meetings in trying to feel out how it's gonna go. But it's where we have chosen to incinerate our garbage.
So when you ask for input, one of the things that's difficult for me to just input on this is, I'm trusting that Debbie and her staff and the board at RRDD1, Don Stein, I know, doesn't he sit on Mira?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
he sits there. So the technical details, and then Josh, attends a lot of those meetings. So the technical details in all of this, I think, are important, and I'm not sure that we all, I mean, maybe others have studied it more, maybe Linda, because she's at these, to actually recommend which way to go. I mean, other than saying that, I know that going into the future, and, Candace has mentioned it, and others have mentioned it, Todd has mentioned it, that, we need to reduce, our garbage. I mean, you and I live at the lake. You go up in the back behind my house, and we knew where they put their garbage back in the 20s and 30s, because they have the old dumps, in the back with the old glass and stuff. But all that's disintegrating, and it's, not hurting anything. But what do we do with everything that goes out now? How do we reduce that? I think that's one of the things we all can talk about pretty easily. But how do we choose, and do we actually have a choice in terms of what moves forward with what the three towns as that entity decides? And Josh, I don't know if you want to speak to it at all in terms of.
But I think Josh has to be, or the board has to be one of the signatories, because all 169 towns have to sign off
Right.
if this is gonna work either one way or another. I don't know if you give up that to the RDD1 for them and their signature, but in the things that I've been reading and the places that I've been going, every town has to opt in, or if they don't opt in, there's no deal.
Right,
So,
so Debbie's talked about that in some of the correspondence that I've seen, come through in terms, do they, what does RDD1 think? Is it separate for us to decide? But it's such a complex issue at this point in terms of, I think we all want something that's gonna be the best cost for everyone, right? So we need to solve the issue. We need to solve it through reducing, we need to solve it through, making sure things get recycled correctly and cleanly, as, was brought up when Todd did his little show and tell that day, or when Linda comes in and talks about a few things from those meetings. So, our feedback, is, in the details and the recommendations by the, the experts in these fields.
okay, I mean, I just wanted, because it's June July 1st of 2022 when that plant shuts down.
Right.
And a decision will have to be made earlier, and we only have a 3-month session.
And that's why I had to put it
Yeah,
on the
no,
agenda
and
here is
I
because,
appreciate that because it's a huge issue, and we
Right.
need input from all. And I know you guys are gonna be receiving money from the deposits of nipper bottles. And that money is to be used towards education. It's anticipated to be used towards education of recycling. So it's 5 cents for every nipper bottle that's sold in the town of Winchester. And I have those numbers, and it's a pretty significant amount in Winston. So,
which may lead to other issues as well.
but that does not lead to them being recycled because they don't call for a recycling number on it, so they can't be put in the machine and be recycled, so that doesn't stop from being put on the edge of Route 20 or wherever.
But there's less, I don't know. I think they can recycle it or something, I don't know.
It's, I saw it on the agenda, it's been a big talking point. It's gonna hit us, because if we're at 119 now, whichever way we go, if we stay with Mira, it's 146, if we truck it, it's 145.
And so
And-
that's, I saw Bruce the other day outside and Josh and just said, hey, heads up, because the forecast for our budget, because we spend what, Bruce, now $450 a year? And then people have to pay for their own stickers too, so I mean, that could significantly go up between now and in the next couple of years, go up $100,000, $200,000 just for trash fees.
Yeah, so it's significant enough to have a huge conversation on it, and whether we want to make sure this plant stays going, or if we want to talk about, because trucking it right now, I think there's a clause in there on the fuel, because the fuel is so high. So
Well,
I appreciate it. I
Well,
just wanted to,
didn't Deep already decide not to fix the plant?
that can be, if this doesn't go through, Deep does not want to fix the plant, correct?
Right, they don't
The
wanna fix
legislature
it.
can force and make some changes.
Right, so that wasn't the.
Because
path.
Hartford wants it, so Deep does not want.
Right, so they didn't go down that road, so now that's why we're in
Right,
the
'cause
place where we
Commissioner
are,
Dykes
out of
wants to-
town, then what do we do?
To get
You
rid
know,
of the
we-
carbon footprint, get rid of the
And when
exposure in the air.
when does out of town, out of state stop taking us? You
Exactly.
know, at some point, other states aren't gonna want our trash, and then what happens? So this is like a 10-year, 20-year vision that has to be solved within a relatively short amount of time.
The other thing that gets overlooked is when we burn trash, we're not just burning it to burn it,
You get energy.
it produces energy. Mira gets a terrible rate from Eversource on that energy that they produce, but,
3 cents.
yeah. I think the going rate
It
is
was
like
12.
9, yeah. But it's not just burned to burn it, it produces energy,
Yeah.
which can help a struggling power grid.
Right.
So, I thank you. I just wanted to make sure we have the conversation, and I'll keep talking with Debbie Angel and maybe yourself, Josh,
And Linda?
Got it.
and Linda,
Yeah.
being on the board down there. I mean, Debbie's really pushing for a single stream recycling, because that's her heaviest weight is glass.
Yeah, she has several ideas, like this organic composting, but I think the big thing was the education. Again, to go back to your revamped bottle bill, when are we going to start getting monies from that? I thought
It should be
in the
fairly soon,
bill,
because it's supposed
it
to be,
said 2024?
no,
It started July 1, I think.
it's sooner than
July?
that.
But the money was to go for education.
Right.
And I guess that's the.
It'll come directly to the coffers to you from the Bottle Association, or from the Liquor Association.
So when you said you knew what the rates were, do you know approximately how much it will be?
For you guys?
Yeah.
I had sent that to Josh when the bottle bill was first passed.
That's
I can-
right.
I
That
can
was
resend that to you.
a little bit ago, and I don't have those numbers in
It
front of me, but I
spells
can
out
share it with
that
the
every
board.
single town and how much they take in, or how many nippers they sell. It's kind of crazy in this state.
Before the additional tax was put on, though, so of course there's gonna be a supply-demand adjustment.
I can get that and resend it to you, so you can.
I'm just
disseminate
asking
it.
because in terms of community outreach, education and whatnot.
I
depending
want
how
to say
much-
you're gonna receive around 30,000 a year, maybe more.
All right, so that might be helpful in the communication part where you add that
Absolutely.
piece in there, and then the kids' programs at school.
Yep.
And
And then-
our RRD1 does a great job of informing everyone about recycling every year, and it gets mailed to every resident.
Right, yep, they do. Okay, well, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay then. What they say, trash, the never ending, or is it,
Stop shopping from Amazon.
well, they've even cut down on their packaging.
Hi, good evening, John Way, artist,
Hi, John.
Superior Street. I saw a light out tonight, it's on the riverside,
Next
just
to the-
before you get to Union Street on the curve. I don't know whether it's one light or two lights, but I
No,
know
it's actually
definitely
3 or 4, and those are town-owned lights.
one. Oh, those are town lights.
So in the process, we found that our town-owned lights, so Public Works is going to be looking at one of our electrical electric companies to come in and look at that.
Okay, fine.
So, you know, I don't know that the light heads have been changed. They changed 57, but it didn't include 8. So there are lights out from Union to YMCA.
Okay.
So they just repaired one that's right next to Little Red Barn Brewers, but there's also one that was out right on the riverside where the benches for the bus that used to be, that's out, and there was one in the park, but their system's down for taking information, so those will be repaired though, but, so,
One other thing I want to know, have we ever thought about maybe a solar panel up there, a little 8x8 solar panel?
I don't know that these are all LED lights, so it has dramatically increased the visibility on Main Street itself, and which is really important around that corner there by the YMCA. But no, we have not researched LED. And that could be something, if we ever extended the lights down the rest of Main Street to look at. But at this point now, we're just trying to get them to work.
Okay. I had a question regarding the trash disposal. When they talk about a ton, is that delivered to the plant down there?
Yes, that is the ton that is being received by the
Right.
plant. That's
Now,
correct.
What about the fuel cost on that ton? Fuel costs keep going up and up and up, and I understand why. It's demand for it. But there's also a carbon side on that fuel. And Portland, Oregon has taken a step where they're going by that little smog sticker on your vehicle, and they're charging you a tax on which way that smog sticker goes. So if you have a high smog polluter engine, say it's 7, and then your neighbor has a 2, well, he's paying a lot more tax. And that could escalate real quick on a big diesel truck. Especially the age of them.
Many of the garbage trucks are now natural gas too, so they are trying to combat fuel, but natural gas is still expensive.
Well, natural gas is still carbon too.
Right.
It may be a less polluting carbon,
Right.
but, so I was just wondering how we're taking this all consideration, because what we pay today is not what we're gonna pay 6 years from now for the same, getting the cost of it delivered.
Right. And I'm not sure if I can tell you right off the
No,
top of my
I
head
don't
how,
expect you.
right, that's all baked in right now, or how it will be in the future, but we'll find out.
I know that, like, I have, Payne's picks up my garbage, and there's a fuel charge that they add as the price for their trucks goes up. So,
Okay, thank you.
Selectmen's comments and reports are number 12. One of the things I'd like to do is take a moment to recognize former Mayor Ken Fracasso. This is our first meeting since he passed away, and I know there's been a lot of other tributes for him over the past week and a half, but I think as a board, we certainly want to recognize his commitment to the community and I believe it was 6 years that he spent serving from this desk. So just a brief moment, please. Okay, thank you. And then just one other thing that came in recently was, for Veterans Day, there's a lot of things going on, but Swell's Car Wash has for veterans that day. It went out on the news through our news site. They're offering car washes for veterans. And also on Veterans Day, don't forget down in the park at 11 o'clock, there's always a little ceremony. And then Jack, you could talk about your ceremony up at the Soldiers Monument, if you would.
Thank you. Yeah, we won't be meeting again as a group until after the 13th of November, or after the 11th. So, on the 11th, 2 o'clock, at the Soldiers Monument, weather permitting, we will have a ceremony. We'll have a reading of the Gettysburg Address, and Jim Moore will be there live playing some of his music. That's at 2 o'clock on the 11th. We should end by 4 o'clock. You can walk into the first floor of the monument, but we cannot allow people to go up to the second or third floor until all of the windows are in. It's somewhat dangerous to do that right now, so we're protecting. And then, of course, on the 13th at 6:30 in the Gilbert School, we will be putting on the 250th display regarding the snippets of history in the last 250 years. And that's all they are. It's just little snippets here, little snippets there of what our town has gone through in various stages. That's at 6:30, Gilbert School. There is no admission. We will have a limited seating by COVID regulations, probably about 350, maybe go a little bit higher than that. But during the performance time, we will also be live streaming. And you can get it live streaming on TGS, the Gilbert School, TGS TV. And that was on YouTube. So that would be live streaming. Additionally, we will keep it on YouTube for a longer period of time, tape it, and eventually we will be, we have been given a donation to print a book of the entire play. So we will have that available sometime March or April. There are 15 actors, I believe, that are involved in this. We have about 7 other people who are assisting the production, including many of the Gilbert School students. So it's quite a community event, and I invite you all to come. The program, as I said, starts with the ceremony at 6:30, and there may be a little bit of a break between the ceremony time and when we begin the play. The play begins at 7. And I got a call today from somebody who said, yeah, but how long is it going to be? And it's going to be 7.5 hours, 3 days. No, it won't quite be that long. But we anticipate the first act is running about 60 minutes. The second act, maybe 70 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, depending upon some scenes that are still being shortened a little bit. But so if we get there at 6:30, you should be out of there by 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Great. All right. Anybody else with any information, Todd? And then, I don't know, Steve, if you have a report.
I'd just like to thank Melissa for her time on the board and her service to the town, the hard work and dedication. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure serving with you, Melissa.
Yes, definitely.
Good success.
I just wanted to tell you all that it was really my privilege to serve on this board for the last 6 years, and a real honor to work with all of you. And I think we were really effective, and I put a lot of thought to why that was true. And I think it was because we were really purposeful individually about collectively backing each other's initiatives. And I wish, much continued success to the board. And I think that Winstead will continue to move forward. So thanks, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Are you doing your adjournment motion, or are you
Well,
doing
I
a
had 2
comment?
things.
Oh, okay. I didn't know which one you were doing. I didn't know if we were all
I
finished
took
yet.
thing number 1. I was going to recognize your work, Melissa. You don't have a lot to say in the meetings, but when you have something to say, it's right on the money, you know, very thoughtful, and I've always appreciated that about you. And thank you for your other volunteering on behalf of the town. I know the Laurel Festival has been rejuvenated with your leadership, and really appreciate all that hard work as a volunteer. And thing number 2 is I want to thank both Josh and Bruce for using the word tranche. I love it. I love it when my vocabulary is challenged, and that was a new one on me, and I really appreciate it. And with that, I move we adjourn.
Has everybody else finished with their comments first?
Yep.
He segued right into that. Okay, is there a second then?
I'll second.
Thank you, all in favor? See y'all later. I haven't asked you yet.
No, I don't think I've ever heard the word in my life.
Anything specific?
No,